For 2026, Subaru has taken a bold step with the Outback, and not everyone's thrilled about it. The redesign has stirred up one of the biggest debates we've seen from Subaru fans in years. Then, when pricing dropped, things only got louder. So today, let's unpack what's really going on with the new Outback and whether it's something worth waiting for. Now, full disclosure, I haven't had the chance to drive the 2026 Outback yet. Hopefully that'll change within the next few months. But Subaru has released all the official specs and pricing on their press site, so there's plenty to go over. The big headline? The Outback Premium now starts at around $36,500. Just a few model years ago, you could get into one for about $30,000. That's a sizable jump no matter how you slice it. But what I've noticed is that a lot of people online are missing some important context when they react to that number. For instance, the 2025 Outback Premium with the power tailgate package, which matches up almost feature for feature with the new one, already came in right around that same price point. The only real difference is that Subaru has now ditched cloth seats completely. You'll get StarTex upholstery instead. And speaking from experience, I used to sell new Outbacks. Base trims were always rare finds on the lot. Most buyers wanted the extra conveniences and comfort upgrades, even if they cost a bit more. Plus, Subaru still gives you a more affordable option in the Forester, which starts around $31,000. That's the practical choice for someone who just wants a no-nonsense, all-wheel drive daily driver. The Outback has always sat a step above that, so it makes sense that its entry price is climbing as its equipment list grows longer. Honestly, I was expecting an even bigger price jump given the import tariffs and general inflation across Subaru's lineup. The real sticker shock isn't in the mid-tier models. It's up top. Fully loaded trims like the Wilderness or Touring XT can now push north of $45,000 to $50,000. Yes, they add tech like adaptive dampers, a surround view camera, and an upgraded adaptive cruise system. But that's still serious money for something that used to be the practical alternative to an SUV. But I don't think price alone explains why this redesign hit such a nerve. To me, it feels like the backlash runs deeper, more emotional than financial. What I see is a sense of disappointment from longtime Subaru loyalists, especially the wagon faithful. Over the past decade, Subaru has gotten a lot right. Ride quality's improved, the CVTs are smoother, steering has more precision, and the seats, which used to be a weak spot, have gotten much better across the lineup. They've listened to feedback. They've even walked back some bad infotainment decisions, and hybrids are finally on the way. Subaru clearly pays attention to what buyers don't like, but sometimes they forget what those same buyers love. For years, the Outback and Forester shared similar footprints and pricing, but their characters were distinct. The Forester was upright and boxy, more SUV than car, while the Outback sat lower, longer, and more wagon-like. That made it special. It was one of the few rugged wagons left in the US that didn't cost luxury money. It was a unicorn in its segment. Behind the wheel, it felt planted and car-like, with easy roof access for kayaks or cargo, those clever built-in crossbars, and serious ground clearance for trail runs. It was a mix of everything: utility, comfort, and adventure, all wrapped into one of the most uniquely practical vehicles you could buy. So when the spy shots and later the official photos surfaced, a lot of us felt that sting. The taller profile and more SUV-like proportions seemed to chip away at that wagon identity. It's not a huge dimensional change, only about 1.5 inches taller, but it alters the character in a way enthusiasts immediately noticed. Still, I'll reserve final judgment until I can drive it myself. If you're deciding whether to grab a 2025 now or wait for the 2026, there are a few reasons to stick with the current model. First, you'll save a noticeable chunk of cash. Second, if you prefer cloth seats, this is your last chance to get them. And third, the 2025 still holds on to that true wagon vibe that's slowly fading away. Subaru's been avoiding the term wagon for years. They market the Outback as a crossover or SUV. And with this redesign, they've really leaned into that idea. They've squared off the shape, raised the roofline, and gone for bolder styling choices that are, let's say, divisive. Even so, the 2026 model isn't without merit. The extra height and boxier cargo area will make it more practical for bulky gear, yet its footprint is nearly identical to the outgoing version, so it shouldn't feel unwieldy or oversized. It still offers that mix of ruggedness and refinement Subaru is known for. The powertrains remain familiar, one efficient and one with real punch, and there's little doubt we'll see a hybrid soon. Subaru also tackled one of the biggest complaints from owners, the infotainment system. The new setup brings back physical HVAC controls and a faster, sharper touchscreen. That's a huge win in my book. Yes, prices are climbing, but even at these levels, the Outback remains a relative value next to similarly equipped mid-size crossovers from Honda, Toyota, or Nissan. Right now, I can't say if the 2026 Outback is a success story or a misstep, but I'll find out soon enough once I get behind the wheel. Thanks for watching, and as always, thanks to my channel members for helping me keep improving these videos. If you want more detailed breakdowns and early impressions, consider joining, and I'll see you in the next one.